So welcome everyone to our webinar on how you can supercharge your application workflow with our new feature rollout. So in this call, we're going to walk through all these new changes that we've implemented to the product and demonstrate how you can use them to save you time, keep your response rates really high, focus on the highest quality applications that are coming through, and still deliver a great candidate experience to those people that you're rejecting for the roles. So just to introduce myself, my name's Rebecca. I'm one of the customer success managers at Cord, so I work with companies directly to help them get the best out of the product and help them make direct hires through Cord. I'm also in charge of our hiring insights page, which delivers data and insights from Cord to companies to help them with their hiring strategies. So we've recently published articles on the market changes and last month we focused on exploring gender diversity. So all of those are in our hiring insights page if you're interested in having a look into them. We've also got Tom on our call, who is a CPO. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey everyone, yeah, I'm Tom, CPO. I've been at Cord pretty much since the business was founded and been CPO for the last 3 years. So I'm here to answer any questions about the product.
Great. We will be doing a Q&A section at the end of the call. So there is a Q&A box within Zoom. As we go through, please do put any questions in there that you have either about these features or Cord itself or the product roadmap, anything that you want to ask Tom. So we can then come to those at the end. Cool. So what's coming up today? So we're running this webinar as we've just released some of our biggest changes to date on the product. And we've designed these based on company feedback and Cord data to solve what we see as the biggest problem that companies are facing at the moment, which is how to process the high increase in applications that are coming through. So firstly, what we're going to be doing is talking through some data insights on why we made the decision to focus on this. And then I'm going to be talking through each feature. So this includes how you can now block irrelevant applications from applying to your roles, our new application workflow that makes processing applications a lot easier, how you can prioritize the highest quality applications with our profile match summary, providing feedback to every application using AI decline messages, and how we now are giving you recognition for the hard work that you're putting in. And at the end, as I mentioned, we've got the Q&A section specifically with Tom. So firstly, we're going to look at some of the market changes that encourage us to take this action with these new features. The first, which I'm sure that you've all experienced, is that we've seen a huge increase in the application volume. So looking over the last 12 months, we've seen that the application number has doubled pretty much from 2022 to 2023. What we've seen as a result of this is that there's been a pretty drastic drop in the response rate from companies of 47%. And it's clear, therefore, that this increase in application number is unmanageable for some companies. And from speaking with a lot of companies, we knew that they shared our passion for really delivering a great candidate experience and desperately wanted to reply to each application, but they were just simply overwhelmed by the sheer volume and unable to do so, hence the drop in response rate. And when we were speaking to candidates, we knew that this was having a really big impact on them when it's already a very difficult time to be looking for work. This was making things even harder for them by not receiving back any feedback. We next explored how companies can generate more quality applications for an upcoming article that we've been looking at. And we found some really interesting data around the link of the importance of candidate experience with generating better quality applications. So the first one was that your hiring reputation really matters to candidates. Not being able to reply to all of your applications does impact this reputation. In a recent candidate survey that we ran, 75% of the candidates said that they were either unlikely or not at all likely to apply to your position if they had heard poor things about your candidate experience. So potentially not replying to these applications now may be damaging your future prospects of getting further applications when you do need them. And candidates do actually really care about the response rate that's visible on your profile. So when we ask candidates the number one factor for them that would stop them from applying for a position, 18% put a poor company response rate or time as the top factor for them. And that was the third most popular answer overall. So it's clear that from a candidate's point of view, this is something that they really value, is making sure that they will get a response to their application. And when we looked at the company data, we saw that there was a correlation between having a high response rate and attracting better quality applications. So we isolated the top 10% of companies that were receiving the best quality applications in the market. And we saw that they had a higher response rate on average to the rest of the market. So it's clear that there's a link here between response rate generating quality as well as quantity of applications. So what we concluded from looking at this data, as well as speaking with companies and customers, was that this increase in application volume is causing lower response rates across the market. And these low response rates and the poor candidate experience does deter candidates from applying for roles. And at the same time, companies that are able to keep a higher overall response rate do attract better, higher quality applications. So this is why we've developed our 5 new features that are built to help busy hiring teams surface quality and respond to applications faster than ever before. So the first feature I'm going to talk through is one that's actually been live in the product for a little while, so you may have already seen it, but it's how you can block irrelevant applications. So previously, companies had to spend time responding to applications from people who they just weren't able to hire because of visa issues and right to work. And this wasted not only the company's time, but also those candidates that are sending the application. They were wasting time on applications that weren't going to go anywhere rather than focusing on companies that could hire them. So what we've done is given companies more control now over who can apply to your position based on visa status. We've made this at a position level because I know for some companies, you can support visas on certain roles, but not others. So you can toggle this on and on depending on position. You also have control over if you'd like to allow people with temporary visas to apply, even if you're blocking applications from people with visas. So I'll show you in the product where you can manage this. If you were to go into your settings and then account settings, here you'll see where you can manage for each position. So if this is toggled on, it means that you aren't receiving those applications from people with visas. If it's toggled off, it means that you are allowing those people to apply. Next, I want to just run you through our new application workflow for making processing applications a lot quicker and easier. So previously, hiring tech talent was very sourcing focused. Companies didn't tend to receive many applications for their positions for tech hiring. And so when we first created Cord, it made sense to have an inbox that had all of the messages in one place. But when companies started receiving a much higher volume of applications, that message request section became easily very cluttered. It was quite difficult to view all of your applications and also to process them. It was very clunky. So what we've done is created a purpose-built inbox for managing those applications, which is now cleaner and gives you more power over how processing the applications how you want with better sorting. So I'm just going to show you through that in the product. So if we come to the message inbox now, you'll see that rather than having all of the messages in one place, we've got a tabbed view. So you've got your requests separate from your conversations and separate from your declined messages. You can still view your other messages here. So you've got your outbound, hired, and archived messages as well. So this means that you can just process your applications a lot easier by having them all in one place and much easier to visualize. We've also given better sorting, as you can see here. So you can now sort by newest, by position, or by best match first. So it means that you can process these applications the way that you want to, basically. We've also made a few small UI changes. So one is that when you do respond to an application now, if I was to accept this one, instead of previously where it would then take you to the conversation with the candidate, what it does is it just sends it through. Oh, sorry, my internet's a bit slow. It will now just bring it straight onto the next application instead. Let me just give that a refresh. And they move into the conversations. So it means that when you're processing applications, rather than it moving to the conversation, it will just move down to the next application in your request inbox, which makes it a lot easier and more intuitive. We've also made the position selection a lot easier when you're choosing which positions you want to see. So any positions you're not associated to are now kept separate at the bottom here. and we've deprioritized the paused positions, which are at the bottom of the list as well. So everything here just feels a bit cleaner. We've given you visibility on this application of where the candidate is based as well, so you can view their location. You have got power to turn that off as well if you wanted to toggle that on and off in the settings. And this settings box here is also where you can either tick to view all of your team messages or keep it off to see just your own messages. So with this, it should allow companies to be able to process applications a lot easier. So as the workflow is now purpose-built for doing so. So it means that companies can keep their response rate a lot higher. And it means that therefore, based on the data that we've been seeing, that you hopefully attract the top talent and ensure that none of your applications are being missed and expiring before you see them. At the same time, it's going to make things a lot easier for you as well in conversation, because it keeps all the conversation with candidates separate from the decline messages, so you won't miss those ongoing messages either. Our next feature that I'm going to talk through is the profile match summary, which helps you prioritize the best fit applications. So previously, it was hard to see from the inbox which application were the best fit for the role. If you had only a small amount of time, but a lot of applications to go through, it's very difficult to know where to start, and you could easily miss the best fit applications. Also, digesting a person's profile to understand if they're a good fit for the role is quite taxing mentally if you're going through quite a few applications, especially if you're switching between different requirements and different positions. So what we've done is create a profile match score, which is visible next to each application. So this is backed by hundreds of thousands of historic application outcomes, which we analysed. So the profile match score is both really powerful for you, but statistically reliable as well. So to take you into the product and see how that works, you'll see that each candidate has a percentage next to their application. So you can see easily which ones are the best fit. And with our new sorting feature, you can prioritize the best fit at the top of your inbox. Within the summary itself, you can see you now have a detailed summary of where they fit your requirements for the role and where they don't fit. So this is broken down through three categories. So logistics, experience, and interests. And each category is weighted differently depending on what was more statistically important for a company when accepting an application. So, for example, experience is weighted at 55%, whereas interest is weighted at just 10%, because whether someone has the right job title or the right core skills for the role is much more important as to whether they are interested in the industry that you're working in. So that's why we've weighted them differently. So if you don't want to see the full summary, you can minimize this and it will just be visible in the top right. And then if you just click on it again, it will open up again for you. So we do recommend using this as more of a guide, as it is dependent on how well the candidates filled in their profile, as well as how well you filled in your position, because that's how it generates the score, as the match between their profile and your position listing. So it's a great guide, but do make sure that you're still reviewing their full profile and before you make a decision on whether you accept or reject their application. But approaching the score through statistical analysis means that there is a really strong correlation now between this score and the likelihood that you will accept that application. So you'll be able to process your applications much quicker by easily visualizing an application's fit in seconds, and also by highlighting the best fit candidates and sorting by that. It means that you're going to be able to get to those best candidates as soon as possible. Our next feature is how you can use AI to generate decline messages with valuable feedback for each candidate. So companies that we spoke with, they cared deeply about giving each person a great experience and providing constructive feedback for those who weren't a right fit for the company. But they just didn't have the time to do that. It wasn't a priority when there were so many applications coming through, and constructing personalized messages for each person is just way too time consuming. So they had to rely on impersonalized or vague decline templates, or a lot of candidates just weren't getting decline messages at all. So as we mentioned before, the data shows that that candidate experience that they receive is really deeply important in making sure that you're then receiving the best applications moving forwards. So we wanted to improve this for companies and give them an opportunity to reply to each person. So what we've developed is utilizing AI. You can now generate personalized decline templates for each application. So these AI messages just generate a personalized message based on your position, the candidate's profile, and the reason that you select for why you're rejecting them. So I'm just going to take you through that again in the product. So if we look at Mia here at the bottom, who's applied for our senior front-end developer role, we can look at the experience that Mia has here at the front with the summary. And we see that while she's got experience with JavaScript and TypeScript, she's missing React and React Native, which are really important for this position. So we think that she probably isn't going to be quite right for this role. We also see that she's not got front end as one of her job titles. And if we look through, she seems to be more of a back end developer. She's got great experience with some great companies, especially Glassdoor, which is quite relevant to our industry. But it's just not quite right for us. So if I go to select not quite right and say skills not right for her, because that's the main reason that I'm rejecting Mia really, is that she doesn't have React, which is essential for the role. AI is now going to generate a decline message for us that is specific around that reason and taking into account Mia's profile. So we see here that initially it's given us a message that mentions which skills that she's lacking that we need from the profile. But I think we can make this a little bit better. So we've got different controls here on how you can improve the AI message for you. So I, for example, would want to just focus on React when I'm saying what skills she's lacking, because that's a real important one. So I'm going to untick those other ones that it's selected and just leave React in there. I'd also like to give her some positive feedback because I think that it's a great application. It's just not quite right for us. So I'm going to say that she's had some great career progression, but it's just not quite right for us. And then I can also adjust the tone. So say I want to have more of a constructive tone and the length. So I'm going to keep that medium. And then I can click regenerate and it will send create another message for us to send. Great. So here we now have a message that says, while your background is impressive, we're specifically looking for candidates with strong experience with React. But it's acknowledging that she's had great career progression. It's pulled in that she's worked at Meta and Glassdoor, and the expertise with other technology shows that she's really great. So this now Mia is receiving a message that feels a lot more personalized. It's giving her clear reasons why she's not right for this role, but giving her constructive feedback on and positive feedback on her application. And I've been able to do that in just a few seconds. So I can now send that message to Mia and we'll move on to the next application. So it's also worth saying that you can still, if we go to the decline templates, you can still add your own decline reasons and use this in the AI message. So if, for example, you needed everyone to have SC clearance for your roles, whatever you write in this box below will be taken in, the thing that's taken into account by AI. So if we put in here, this is because we need people with existing SC clearance for the role, and fix my spelling and save that as a reason. If we now go back to our person Maria and say that we wanted to reject Maria because she doesn't have SC clearance, we can click that and then AI will generate a response based on that reason that we've given and the information that we put in the template. So you see now it says our main reason for declining is that the position requires SC clearance, which is not mentioned in your profile. Clearance is essential for the role. So it means that you can still use your own templates and your own reasons, but use AI to create the whole message. If you do actually want to just keep using your own templates, they are available here. If you can just select that and it will come back to your one of your existing non-AI templates. We are making it a little bit easier in the product next week as well to toggle between the two. So you'll be able to see the two. And you can actually turn off the AI messages completely if you do want to in the settings. It's worth mentioning that this is in beta still, so AI can occasionally get it wrong. It's worth making sure you read each message properly before you send it, just to make sure you're happy with it before you press send. But hopefully by using these AI templates, you can now deliver really valuable feedback to each application with ease. It will speed up your time to process applications and also improve the experience that those people receiving those responses are having.
Hey, Rebecca, we just had a question on the AI responses that I might just answer. If that's all right. So the question was, AI responses look great. Congrats. Thank you. Does the template go back to default after you send a message, or will it keep the changes you have made until you change it again? If I've understood the question correctly, the selection that you make in that, if you wouldn't mind just going back to the decline templates, Rebecca.
Yeah.
The selections that you make there around feedback, tone and length, their tone and length is automatically saved because our presumption is that you're probably going to want to write your message in a similar tone and length because it best reflects how you normally speak. Positive feedback and skills, when it's available, are not saved. Skills are pulled automatically from the things that don't match, and the positive feedback is up to you to put in each time. So in short, tone and length automatically saved, feedback and skills aren't. If that doesn't answer your question, feel free to just send another one, being slightly more specific.
Great, thanks, Tom.
Okay, looks like it does. Nice one.
Cool. So the last thing that I want to show you through is how you can now get instant recognition and celebration for your hard work on Claude. So responding to every application is very important, and this is why we prioritize companies and positions on Claude that have 100% responsive rate. And we do celebrate companies as well in our leaderboards that are available in the product, as well as our quarterly Claude awards as well, which we celebrate externally on LinkedIn. Previously, there was a little focus for this within the product though, and a lack of that instant recognition. And because you had the mixed inbox as well, you never had the feeling of like a calm, clear, under control inbox when you did clear through all those applications. So if I was to now send this message that we've created, you'll see that you now get instant recognition for being 100% responsive. You have not only your response rate, but the company response rate, and it instantly shows you where you are in the leaderboards when it comes to response rate as well. And you can click here to be taken to your company leaderboards and be able to see where you rank in all of the 3 categories that we focus on. So by giving every user on Claude instant recognition, the opportunity to publicly celebrate, we hope that responding applications will become both fun and rewarding. Cool. So I'm going to pass back to Tom now to answer any further questions that have come through. I can see there's a few in there. Please do keep sending these through. Tom is happy to answer any of them. And as I mentioned before, these don't have to just be about these features. It can be about any of the product and future product roadmap as well.
Great, thanks, Rebecca. So I'll just work through the questions. I'm not sure if everyone can see every question, so I'll read them out before I start. So first one from Keely, do you have plans in the future for a way for candidates to be able to express an interest in an organisation without having specific roles available for them? The direct answer to that is we don't currently have that in the roadmap, although we have had that requested by a couple of companies. Keely, if you wouldn't mind, I'd be super interested to hear like in what situations you would find that useful. And I can briefly explain the reason why we don't have it. We've tried to prioritize where we can in Claude's product, giving candidates as much information as possible. And to do that, we try and encourage companies to list positions that have like clear salaries and skills and things like that. It helps candidates find relevant positions, but also like is a commitment of our product that we'll give as much information as possible. So in not going position first, we lose a slight bit of one of the things that candidates love about Claude, which is getting all the information up front. But I certainly recognize that there are some situations where it's super useful just to be able to high level kind of prospect a candidate, find out a bit more about them for a role you might have come in the future. So yeah, feel free to send anything else in, but at the moment we don't currently have plans for that. A response question I answered. Next question, going forward, would there be an opportunity to have a third category, accept, reject, and further information required? This could have an option to send auto responses with questions that have been highlighted by the system. are reasons the candidate may not be suitable, e.g. would you be able to expand on your React experience? Do you happen to have SC clearance? That is not mentioned in your CV. That is a brilliant idea, and not something that we have currently directly thought of. The quick workaround is just to use the accept templates for things that you frequently have to ask candidates. But it would be super cool if it could, intuit certain things that we're missing or that you might be concerned about and suggest those as prompts. So I'll take that through and back to the team and see what we think is possible. Cool. We had another couple of questions that I answered in the chat, but I'm not 100% sure if everyone can see them, so I'll just quickly go through those as well. The first one was, what metrics are you using to measure the quality of applications? That's a great question, and it was something that we had to think quite deeply about, because candidate quality is highly subjective to the company and the position. So in the end, we decided to use the percentage of applications that the company received that they went on to accept. We used that metric because we thought it recognized the subjectiveness of quality. So when you looked at the data earlier, you were looking at the companies who had the highest amount of messages they received that they ended up accepting, which we would define as a quality application. Another question, just a feature suggestion, which was around how you could tag people in your inbox to help manage them in the pipeline, so booked for screening or requested relocation details, or even just needs feedback post-screening. The answer I gave to that is that once our kind of initial goal was to try and make the process of receiving applications much easier, but we totally recognize that there's a huge amount of improvement that we can make to help companies manage candidates in their pipeline. So we will progressively move on to this. And actually, one of the next features that we have is like a position view that's more similar to something you might expect in your ATS, that allows you to see how many candidates you have at each stages. The new messaging layout kind of unlocks us to be able to do that, and then the progressions from there will be better ways to manage and organize with tags and things like that. So I imagine you'll see that soon. As soon as a loose word, but that would probably be within the next like 2 to 3 months, I think. A couple more questions, I think. Any plans for a talent pool feature on the platform, i.e. for candidates that maybe aren't quite right currently, but may be suitable in the future? We don't have that at the moment, but I do totally recognise that would be a super useful feature for teams. I'll explain the reason why we haven't prioritised it so far, but we'll also recognise that that could be incredibly valuable, because Chord's database is primarily like people who are just actively looking for work. We will try to make the interactions that happen fairly instant around that. So you would essentially kind of we would like to encourage both candidates and companies to deal with positions that are currently active and people who are currently active. But a lot of the feedback that we've had in the past is around the shortlisting feature, how you can save candidates for later, tag them to specific roles that you might be speaking about. And we recognize that as one of the bigger problems that companies are having, or certainly one of the most requested features. So developing that out in the future is something that we will definitely do, although it's not directly in the roadmap at the moment. But thanks so much for the question, Stephen. Cool. I think that's every question there. Maybe I'll just give a couple more minutes for anyone to add any more questions, or if I answered your question and you still have some on the topic, then feel free to ping it in as well.
Cool. Okay, thanks, Tom. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining today. So we hope that these changes are really going to help arm companies with the best tools now for managing through this very application heavy market. And we know that companies really care about candidate experience, and hopefully that these new changes are going to really help improve that for people looking for work as well. So we're going to email out the recording for this to everyone, and it will be available on the Hiring Insights page as well. So if you do want to share it or watch it back, it'll be available. And also, we're happy to answer any other questions that do come up or receive any feedback over email. So my email is just rebecca@core.co, and Tom is tom@core.co. So easy to remember. So feel free to send anything through. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, everyone.